Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Global Leadership Session. We are internationals today. Here in the summit, we have more than 35 countries represented. And Out and Equal is working closely with different leaders, partners, increasing our strategy outside the US. Right now, we have two programs in Latin America and in Asia Pacific. But today, we are starting something new, something different. So we invited friends from Europe. So maybe next year we will have an EMEA program. So I'm very excited that we are growing up, that we are having more countries representing here in Out and Equal in the Workplace Summit. We need two ingredients for that, and that's why we put together this session. We need our corporate partners that can support our work and they can work with us developing the IIV programs in different parts of the world. And also, we need the expert. And for that reason, today we will have at the beginning a keynote from our partner Sodexo, and then a special panel with activists and leaders from Europe. So please join me receiving with a round of applause Patrick Sochinov from Sodexo.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy to be with you today as the Chief Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Officer of a global company, food service company called Sodexo. I'm very happy to be in this conversation, which is going to support driving the change. And I'm also happy to be here as a person, as an advocate for LGBTQ+ inclusion in our society. I'm Patrick. My pronouns are he, her, they. I've been with Sodexo for over 11 years, and actually, since the last 2 years, very operational role, managing countries, regions, being really in the business, and on. No, in D&I, I'm still really in the business, because this is all about business. But I've also observed these last 11 years how when an organization and their leaders are committed to drive change, big steps forward can be put in place in terms of inclusion. Sodexo is a company which is operating in more than 53 countries, and with more than 420,000 people. So actually, the point is not to wonder if inclusion is important. It is absolutely fundamental because it is a business imperative, if only that. So our commitment to foster inclusive workplace and communities goes beyond policies. All companies, everyone can put policies. The point with policies is that they need to be implemented. They need to be lived by people. Furthermore, Sodexo is a company with core values and mission, a twofold mission, actually. And you will hear the mission twofold, and one side is to improve quality of life of the people we serve and our employees, and on the other side is to develop, contribute positively from economical, environmental, and social perspective to the communities we are operating in. When you hear that, it's just about sustainability and inclusion. These are our missions, so it's deeply ingrained in our company culture. Let me talk a little bit about me and how I identify myself. I'm a white, Caucasian type European in his late 50s. I'm pretty deaf on the right side, so if you ask questions, just please do it that way, right? These guys have more chance than I am. I'm married. I'm the father of 4. I'm the granddad of 2. I identify myself as fluid. And I consider myself as very privileged. Still, even when you are very privileged, I in my life experienced firsthand how important it is to be included, to be accepted for who you are. And it's a long-lasting fight, because I think it's a fight to help others to feel accepted and included. And this is basically why I'm here with you today. Just I don't know exactly why they invited me for this keynote, but I'm very happy and I'm very proud of it, I must say. But this is why I'm here as a business executive. And because I want to drive the change as much as possible. And I say I mean the team, not only me, but the leadership in Sodexo, the team. And I want to be a change agent as much as you all want to be. So we're talking about Europe today. We hear a lot about the US, so we are not talking about the US. Sodexo's 40% of Sodexo business is in the US. Fine, but let's talk about the other part today. And when it goes about navigating LGBTQ plus rights in Europe, where are we? So, as you know, Europe is presenting a very diverse array of countries, culture, legislation, habits, traditions, and the status of LGBTQ plus rights in Europe is complex on one side and also multifaceted because of the nature of the continent. And in recent years, in Europe, we have reached some incredible milestones in the battle for equality. At the same time, we have seen stark reminders that there is much work ahead. As we know, it's the equality going to more equality, to more equitable companies and society. It's a journey with both, as it has been reminded yesterday by Karen, that with both joy and grief. And that's true, and certainly now in Europe. But let's start about some victories that have been recorded these last years. So in Europe, about 30 countries are recognizing the same-sex union. 19 of them are recognizing same-sex marriage, and large ones like France, Germany, Belgium. I'm Belgian, so I mention Belgium every time I can. Right? That's a small country, but it's a very important one in Europe. And more recently, Switzerland and Slovenia. But also, trans rights are making headway in Europe with a clear recognition and self-identification in Finland recently and in Spain. So there are very good things moving in the right and a good direction. However, it isn't uniform, and there are still a lot of work ahead, and there is a resurgence in anti-LGBTQ plus rights. Mainly in Eastern Europe, but not only. And you know, there are things like just terrifying things to me, like in Poland, where we have seen the emergence of, I need to read it because I just can't memorize that, LGBTQ plus free zones. Just the wording is absolutely terrifying. It sounds like a virus-free zone. And it has been put into legislation. So a long, long way to go. And it's a moving environment. We can go from one government to another with very different options, different policies. Still, this is reflecting in a serious proportion what the population is thinking. Because these are democracies, right? Or people are voting, and these governments are putting laws in place, which are like that one. So legal recognition of gender identity remains very inconsistent across Europe, and very often it is pushing individuals in very invasive and bureaucratic requirements. This lack of uniformity hinders the progress towards equality, that's for sure. Another element which is pretty worrying is the growing number of hate crimes and harassment against LGBTQ+ people in Europe. And this is not only in countries like the Eastern Europe countries I mentioned, Poland, Hungary. It's happening in countries who are quite ahead of the pack in terms of equality of rights. So, for example, in the UK, the report of homophobic hate crime has tripled over the last 4 years. And when it goes about transphobic hate crimes, it has been multiplied by 4 this last years. So, once again, it's about regulation, but it's also about sentiment and the way the population in those countries, whatever the regulation is, are understanding what equality means and why it is important. I'm personally deeply concerned by these examples. Just think about it. We have more than 400,000 people in my company, and I'm talking as a business executive. And during the last engagement survey, more than 5% of our employees did self-ID as trans or non-binary. Tens of thousands of people, right? And their safety and their security are absolutely paramount to me, but to the leadership of the company. It's obvious, but that's very important because we operate in these countries where regulations are taking a way we wouldn't like to see, but where hate crimes are progressing too. Are progressing, it's the wrong word, I'm sorry. Are exploding. I think that companies, businesses, we understand that these issues extend beyond the walls of our operational sites. It is our responsibility to actively contribute to reducing violence in society overall. And it's part of what we need to contribute to. We need to ensure that everyone can live a life free of discrimination and harassment. So where does this leave global companies today? When you operate in 50 countries or 10 or whatever number of countries, you are facing a very divergent situations. So it means that you just can't be global. Doesn't make sense to try to make decisions which are applicable everywhere. You need to have clear values, you need to formalize your policies, you need to give tools to support the local teams, because they are the ones who are making things happen. And this is putting our global companies at the crossroad, because we need to make choices, clear choices, of what we want to stand for, and how we want to really stand for that. So, inclusion is not just a choice. It is a business imperative. Once again, there is a war for talent in the marketplace. We want to have the best talent in our teams. We need to attract and retain those talents. So, we need to have everyone feeling they belong to the company, feeling included. Also, in a company like ours, I said 420,000 people, but it's 53 countries, over 30,000 sites. Just divided, it's about Each operation is around 14 people in average. Very small business units, operating with the boss and with a team. So it's not, you need to ensure that we get to the front line, because this 380,000 people, they are making the company the best one every day. They are giving their best for this business. They are living out of their work, and they are the ones who need the most support. And they are spread across such a high number of, a lot of geographies. So, as I said, not one global approach. We need to engage with our leadership team locally. We need to have an hybrid approach where we can give guidance, but then the action needs to be tailored, adopted and adapted to the reality of the different operations and countries and populations and demographics that we are operating at. In the panel today, I'm very keen, very happy to listen to you guys, because I think we are going to learn a lot how we can, as companies, better advocate for LGBTQ+ rights. I would like to be a bit more concrete with two elements. The first one is what can be done concretely. Frankly, if we are progressing in my company, it's because these actions are led by our Global Pride network. These guys there in front of me. And we have one Global Pride network and 18 chapters so far today. And these chapters, these individuals, they are making the difference. I would like to thank them deeply today for the work they do, on top of their work, right? Because this is a voluntary basis. They are spending time and energy to support, to connect, to engage our managers and leaders locally and making change. So this is very important that it happens. It needs to be supported by the company. We can't only count on goodwill, right? And I come back on that in a few minutes. With allyship, which is my second topic. Allyship is absolutely essential. Allyship from managers, leaders, senior executives is absolutely essential, because this is one way to give more energy to all the individuals in the company who are supporting our actions, who are locally talking, who are making them visible, who are supporting the burden of inequalities. Allyship is about openly, publicly supporting what is done to include, in general, and in our case today, LGBTQ+ individuals. So we need to understand the day job and the gay job, as it is often used by my colleagues. But that's a reality, right? And it is draining a lot of energy, and that's why we need allies. We need to foster allyship in our companies. We need to encourage leaders to become openly, publicly allies, showing that they are behind, they are in front, but also behind these teams who are doing the job. It's an everyday attention. This is ongoing effort. It's a long journey, and we are still very far from having accomplished and getting to the level of equality, or to the equality or level of equity and inclusion that we would like to be. So, in conclusion, I think I'm already out of time. The story of LGBTQ+ rights in Europe reflects a mixture of progress and ongoing difficulties. Companies, I'm convinced of that, have a pivoting role to play to drive the change, not only within their organization, but in society as a whole, as you will hear from this panel, I'm sure. As I said, inclusion is a journey. We are on it. And it is essential to remember that it requires collective efforts. No one individual company can drive the change alone. We need to collaborate with companies, with private and public institutions, with associations, with individuals, if we really want to drive the change. This is also part of the actions the company must deliver. Collaborate with external, internal parties to be sure that we are aligned on what we want to achieve and to put our efforts together to make it happen locally. It demands a sustained long-term commitment. Bias, we know it, their manifestations are deeply rooted in our societies. It takes years, decades to extract this bias from individual minds and education. And then I would like to close on just to tell you my feeling. My speech was made of, joy and grief, right? But I am deeply optimistic. We are moving the needle. Companies are moving the needles, internally and externally, because they impact the communities where they work, where they operate. And it will be a long journey. There will be ups and downs again. But fundamentally, we are going into the right direction. And our action to build a more inclusive workplace will ultimately help building a more inclusive society. I'm absolutely sure of that. Thank you very much.
Please welcome to the stage Ananda Pushkar. Por favor, bienvenida al escenario, Ananda Pushkar.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming here today. And I'm going to start our panel then, introducing those amazing people that came all the way from Europe to share their experience as activists, right? So I would like to call to the stage Arbor Kodra from Albania. Irene Kuzemko from Russia, Ukraine. Silvia Matos from Spain. And Thanos Vlachoyanis from Greece. Well, we heard a little bit about the context in Europe, so thanks, Patrick, for the keynote and for introducing this really important topic to our audience. But first of all, I would like to ask you to introduce yourselves, tell you a little bit about your work, what you develop, and also the context of LGBTQ rights in your country. Please, Arbor, if you can start.
Thank you, Ananda. Thank you for this invitation. And it's very funny because I'm always the first in speeches because of my A. Arbor letter. Everywhere in school,
I resignate.
I was everywhere like that. My name is Arbor Kodra. My pronouns are he, him, and I am in the group of the oldest LGBT activists in Albania. We started the movement back by the end of 2008, the beginning of 2009, where we were only 7 people who were very feared to go out and to speak out and to be out and proud as an LGBTI person. I founded the organization I lead now. It's Open Mind Spectrum Albania, which we focus on different issues in regards to the protection of the rights of the human rights of LGBTI people. We started to work with families. We have a group called I Am Your Child because I'm lucky I have a very supportive family, and I'm really proud to have my family who has been always on my side. And This group is helping other people to accept themselves. Another thing we do, we work a lot with politicians. I am, in fact, the only one who works more closely with the politician and politics. And we also do the organize the Queer Film Festival in Albania, which is for films, but also for other artistic production of queer people. The situation in Albania has changed, even though we have national policies in place, like the National Action Plan is the third from our government. We have an anti-discrimination law, which is really great working, but again, the situation is not the best. We still have violence, verbal and physical violence for the LGBTI people, but we push a lot our government to implement these policies at the National Action Plan, because there are the things that we want to change in our society in order to move forward.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. And also, we have here Irene. I would add the question after you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about the specific group you also represent.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, my name is Irene Kuzemka. My pronouns are she, her. I am originally from Ukraine and from Russia. Lived my entire life in both countries, have family in both countries, which is now a bit challenging. And I'm an intersex person and an activist. I've been involved in the movement since 2016. And for the past years, I've been living in Berlin, Germany, working for OI Europe, European biggest intersex umbrella organization. And talking about LGBTIQ rights in general, in my countries, Russia and Ukraine, they are not in the best situation currently. For example, with Russia just recently banning LGR and any access to change of gender marker for people who want to do so. But yeah, with intersex rights, the situation is quite similar all around the world. So many countries, still do non-vital medical interventions on healthy intersex babies. But even with intersex movement being quite young, still there is progress. In Europe, already 6 countries have installed bans on intersex genital mutilation. So, we're just starting and it's getting better.
Really nice. Thank you for all the work that you do. And passing out to Silvia now, I want to know a little bit about the context in Spain.
Hi, my name is Silvia Matos. My pronouns are she and her. I am the CEO and founder of Translingerie, a Spanish company focused on helping a trans collective in their personal image. Our main objective is to create underwear in which our customers feel comfortable and confident. Our underwear are designed for and by trans people. I'm from Canary Island, living in Madrid, and working to make people happy around the world. Today, I would like to talk about the LGBT rights in Spain. Trans rights have had a notorious great evolution during the last 5 years. It's essential to celebrate all we are getting. As a CEO of a trans company, I advocate supporting the letter T of the collective, a letter that also today is a greater visibility, but we are still stigmatized. This 2023 have changed the life of trans children, young people, and adults since the government has accepted the conquest of the rights of trans people with several very important points in the development of our life. Now, people over 18 can change their gender on legal document without undergoing surgery or medical hormone therapy, and people under 18 can also change it, but with parental consent. The new law provides gender affirmation treatment, including hormone therapy and gender affirmation surgery. And in Spain, celebrating Pride event and visibility provide trans people to express themselves and advocate for our own rights. For several years, there have been companies that are dedicated to giving social inclusion courses and demand that there be a small quota of jobs for T people. We at Translingerie only hire trans in all positions we offer, since we know the importance of having dignified life, and together we can build a more inclusive, equal, and fashion for everyone. Thank you.
Isn't she amazing? Really amazing, Silvia. Thank you for everything that you do. We know that trans rights are being attacked not only in Spain, but all over the world. And it's really important to have an activist like you in Spain. And going to Greece, Thanos, give us a little bit of context, a little bit of what you do, and how your collaboration with companies go on.
So, hello everybody, my name is Thanos Vlachogiannis. Good luck with pronouncing that. It's a typical Greek name. So, my pronouns are he, him. I'm an LGBTQI activist and an LGBTQI consultant. I've been advocating for my community since 2012 in numerous ways. I've been a Pride organizer for 8 years. I've lobbied MPs in the Greek parliament for voting LGBTQI-related legislation. I'm the co-founder of the National LGBTQI Helpline, and currently I'm its project and communication manager. And I work closely with the government. Recently, I was appointed by the Prime Minister's office to be an advisor to a working group of the Ministry of Tourism in order to present best practices when it comes to LGBTQI tourism. That's a short bio of myself. If I may tell a little bit of the current situation about Greece, because I think there's a misconception just because, I don't know, people associate homosexuality with ancient Greece. And of course, there are popular destinations like Mykonos and Lesbos. People think Greece, modern Greece, it's an LGBTQI heaven. It's not. Till 2015, the legal frame was almost inexistent. Same-sex couples were legally inexistent, and there was no representation of LGBTQI identities in the Greek media, in the Greek public sphere, and actually there was a lot of misrepresentation, which is even worse. I think years of lobbying MPs, training journalists, and working as well with businesses had paid off. So from 2015 till today, we have built gradually a legal shield that protects LGBTQI people from civil partnership till to the legal recognition of identity, of gender identity, to banning conversion therapy and banning medical procedures to intersex children. We don't have marriage equality yet, but maybe next year we'll be there. Gradually, LGBT activists working closely with Greek politicians have built an important legal frame, and also I think we're living an LGBTQI renaissance in Greece right now. From being very homophobic, very transphobic, the soil now it's given to do a lot of LGBTQI projects.
Perfect, perfect. It's a really solid ground that you were building, like from 2015 on. So a lot of conquest.
There are challenges, of course, right?
Yeah.
It's the rise of the far right. In the current elections, we had 3 far-right political parties entering the Greek parliament. This is everywhere in Europe. This is a common challenge we all share, the rise of the far right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're going to address that in a bit. I really want to ask Irene about, globally, the intersex movement grows and receives more and more visibility. So really thank you for you to coming here. Workplace inclusion is a critical step moving forward, right? So what are the key actions that you can tell, companies that they can implement on building a truly inclusive place for intersex people?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me in general. I am so happy to speak about this because so often, I is just left out just as a letter in the acronym without actual inclusion. So it's actually really fantastic to be here and to speak about this. And yeah, I would say that talking about inclusion, the first step is knowledge, because when somebody might want, for example, to come out as intersex at work, if nobody even knows what it is, it adds a whole another level of having to educate, having to explain, and yeah, but information is out there, so I would say just educating yourself based on the resources created by the intersex movement, or even inviting an intersex organization to speak for your stuff, it already can be beneficial, and then people might know that, hey, when we talk about intersex, we don't talk about sexual orientation and gender identity, we talk about people who are born with variations in their sex characteristics. And historically, intersex people have been seeing a lot of human rights violations, like non-vital medical interventions to, in quote, fix our bodies and literally make us fit into the binary notion of only female or only male bodies. But you actually already might have intersex people in your organization, because statistically we are 1.7% of the population, which is a lot, and just very often we are invisible. People sometimes just prefer to keep private, or they might know only the medicalized version of their story, or they might not even be aware of their body difference and everything that was done to them, because so often the medical practice is to keep everything secret from a person. When I was coming out 5 years ago in Russia and in Ukraine, I was one of the first people who publicly came out as intersex. I was so scared about my job, like how my colleagues would react, what if I would get fired or something, because it wasn't a human rights NGO like it is now for me. It used to be like a regular day job. So yeah, that was really scary. And if, for example, I would have seen the signs that it is, and accepting LGBTI for a workplace, that would have been a lot easier and a lot of less stress. And yeah, when you are starting to work on intersex inclusion in your workplace, you may notice so many things that can change. For example, if you have anti-discrimination policy, it should include the ground of sex characteristics, because we also have sex characteristics, but some people might have sex characteristics which are a bit more different. And in our culture, we have so much body shaming still, even when it comes to jokes about like small penis jokes. Again, that is intersex phobic, and people might have different genitals, and that's completely okay. If your job includes required medical testing or something like that, again, it should be a doctor who will not pathologize the intersex variation, and also variation should not be an obstacle in doing something. For example, I've heard a story of an intersex woman who tried to enlist in US military, but she wasn't accepted because by medical standards, a woman needs to menstruate. And if a woman is born without a uterus, she will be healthy, but she will not menstruate. But because of that, she wasn't accepted into the army. And if you provide, for example, mental health counseling or support, again, it should be an educated and friendly specialist. And also, like any person, intersex person might have any gender identity, any gender expression, and they might want maybe a little bit more privacy, maybe a private facility for changing if it's a part of the day, or non-gender toilets, which I think should be just the main thing everywhere. But I also think just in general, showing that you're an ally and that a person will be accepted, and just meeting them with kindness if somebody does share something like that with you, I think that is the key. And yeah, if you have any other questions, you can always look us up, look up OI Europe, and if you have any questions later, also let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And now going over to a really important topic that we always talk about, and it's a real difficulty on BRGs, ERGs, and usually the procurement area in companies, which is supply chain, vendors, different people to contract, and the possibility of going over and supporting small businesses owned by LGBTQ people. So, you know, economically we can all grow. And Silvia has a really nice job around this topic. And I want to ask you, Silvia, what do you think are the main challenges for businesses to be included in the supply chain, like small LGBTQ entrepreneurs? And do you have any recommendations to our partners here today who are interested in partnering with companies like yours?
Yes. The main obstacle for trans-inclusive companies like mine is being able to grow up when their workload increases by having the financing line closed by banks that still have many prejudices of our businesses and collective. Other important step is to building a strong network and seeking mentorship from successful LGBTQ+ startups can provide valuable guides, connections, and insight that can help you and compete more effectively in market. In some places, maybe in Europe, a lot of places in Europe have a LGBTQ+ business certification, can help and give us access to government contracts and diversity programs. To grow up like small businesses is focused on the market share and put focus on innovative marketing and branding, and continuous improvement can help to find ways to improve your businesses, reduce costs, increase efficiency, and create new job positions. Remember that the journey from small to medium-sized businesses takes time and effort. It's essential to persevere, stay focused on your goals, and adapt your strategies as needed to overcome challenge. And consider joining LGBTQ+ businesses associations and chambers of commerce, as they can provide valuable networking and support opportunities tailored to your needs.
Perfect. And I think also one of the things that we need to provide is actively asking and searching for those vendors, right? So we as companies, we can go after and also develop projects with them so they can grow their business together. Arbor, turning to you, many companies that are present here at Summit have headquarters in many countries, right? Where LGBTQ community is facing many challenges legally and with public policies, like Albania, for example, right? What recommendations do you have for these companies that are interested in creating a safe space for our community, even though the government doesn't provide them so? And what you recommend for them to have this safe space without putting our community at risk?
That's a good question, in fact, because not only at the organization, but I work also a lot with businesses in this kind of issue. And sometimes us as LGBTI people, when we come out, can put at risk our job and our safety at work. But I think there are a few of the recommendations, because by contacting businesses myself has been sometimes not easy, to be honest, even though there were big businesses that have headquarters outside of Albania and they have branches in Albania or offices. Sometimes their approach is different, not because of the headquarters of the company or the policy of the company, but it's different because of the people who work in the company, which are homophobic, and they don't want to do and to help or do their job how it is to be done. We in Albania is a system that has, it's a project, in fact, not a system that has been initiated, but by the United Nations UN Development Program, UNDP, through the Free and Equal campaign in regards to the UN standard, I forgot the name, the standard for conduct for businesses, which there are five standards that the companies has to fulfill. Not all of them agreed to fulfill the standards that are, especially for the non-discrimination at work and how they can treat LGBTI people at work and what they can do more for that. And there are a lot of companies that we are still in the process of coming to implement these policies at their standards that they have, but as a recommendation from them, and as what I want to say, is that they ask for more trainings for their staff, which is for them is very important for their staff to know more about LGBTI people and what are our needs and how do we want them to work with us, which is for us is very important because we have also advocated recently, we started this last year with the trade unions. The trade unions in Albania, there is an office which is a branch from US, the Solidarity Center, which we work with trade unions by trainings. They want also with trainings. That's how they asked, and that is the most important issue for them in order to know more about the issue.
Perfect. Yeah, I can resonate with your situation in Albania because in Brazil for last 4 years we had a really right-wing government with Bolsonaro, and companies were the ones who stood up alongside the community and giving us the support of, you know, okay, you can be who you are, and we can have a safe space here and be included and be with a sense of belonging, and you can, you know, be yourself in the workplace. So as you said, culture only changes with culture, and trainings are key so people can understand that there are some things that they cannot do. And yeah, they need to accept that. It's a limit, the limit of respect.
Because I want to add also something, because in our country they say, even when I work with politicians or businesses or other people, they say I don't have a problem with you or you guys that are LGBTI or you that are gay personally, but it's how my mom raised me with this society that I have to follow these rules and not to accept other people, not to accept LGBTI people. And coming this, when I talk with politicians that or even with businesses sometimes that are sometimes homophobic in terms of that, we fight more in order to advocate with them. I mentioned before the National Action Plan, but that's also to push the government to implement policies. With businesses, we have big businesses that are international businesses who hire, but there are small in Albania who has helped us in a lot of things. Yeah.
Perfect. And going over this corporate advocacy, I want to go back to Tanos to ask him about, you know, the advocacy in Greece and Europe. You talked about a little bit about the other NGOs that you've been part of and all your activism career. Why do you think it's important for business to build collaborative relationships with LGBTQ organizations? What are some crucial aspects that they have to consider before partnering with them? And I think like being mindful of the time that we are almost done, if you could, you know, keep it in goals and KPIs so folks can have a more concrete perspective of.
So I see 8 minutes left, so no pressure. So whenever I meet with local businesses, I always remind them that in this capitalistic world we all live in, corporate businesses have the power to form the public opinion, and they have the ability to put specific social causes such as LGBTQI rights in the very center of the public discourse. For example, in Greece, every time there's something associated with LGBTQI, either there's Pride, either there's a new collaboration with the corporate business, it becomes instantly viral and the talk of the town. And they should be aware of the fact as well, businesses, that they feel in countries like Greece or South Europe, they're really feeling the gap in allianship where local governments are absent. And every time we team up with a local business or international corporate business, we keep reminding them that, of course, there will be negative reactions from homophobes and transphobes. What homophobes and transphobes don't know is that the more they discuss about it, the more they post about it on Facebook, the more they comment on it on Facebook, the more viral a message becomes. So this means that business shouldn't be afraid of some hate speech they might meet, and negative reactions work to their benefits because bad publication is good publication as well, right? Publicity. And one of my advice to businesses is that they should find an LGBTQI organization. A common mistake businesses do is like they don't consult with LGBTQI organizations, and this often fires back, and then the LGBTQI community isn't happy, and then homophobes and transphobes, of course, isn't happy. Nobody's happy, and it ends up in a disaster. I think there's a certain momentum, at least in Greece, and we urge businesses to get involved in order to associate their brand with LGBTQI identities, because it always comes off as innovative, pioneer, progressive, fresh, current, and most importantly, moral and ethic. Supporting LGBTQ rights is the right thing to do right now, and they will be standing on the right side of history. Then I say to them, you know something, there's a lot of cis male visibility right now, and you should focus on other unrepresented groups like non-binary, like trans. Even lesbians in Greece are underrepresented. So we always say, like, if you want to find some protagonists, forget the gay male. We're done with them. Let's focus on... I mean, I'm gay, I'm not done with them yet, but... And now a fine example of how local LGBTQI activists have worked with corporate businesses is P&G. I don't know if we have any P&G people here. So I don't know if you know this campaign, Hair Has No Gender. It was implemented in many countries. In Greece, not only they produced a TV spot where underrepresented queer identities were on the spotlight, but they also supported financially the helpline where I work at. So that particular thing prevented them from being accused of rainbow capitalism, because there's always someone who's going to say, hey, you're using LGBT identities and you're doing nothing for the community, where no, yes, they're doing something for the community. So always, it's good to find an LGBTQI project to support. And it's a win-win situation. LGBT community wins, the corporate businesses win.
That's perfectly true. A round of applause because, this is why we are here, right? So we are here to not only know those different NGOs, but know those key important things that we need to take home and put in action. And talking a little bit about the common context that we all are facing, not only Europe, but also Latin America, here in the US, which is the far-right wing parties winning a lot of space in the spectrum of politics, and how this also impacts businesses and our NGOs and our activism. Just for us to close up, what do you think would be like a good takeaway for us as activists, for them as workers and ERG, BRG leaders, so we can fight together and maintain at least the least of rights that we already conquered?
One thing quickly comes to my mind, because in the US recently there have been a lot of laws proposed banning gender affirming treatment for trans people. And it's always so ridiculous because those laws, they ban legal gender recognition for people who actually want it for themselves, but they always have a caveat. They always exclude and specifically allow the non-consensual, non-vital surgeries and medical interventions on intersex babies. And like the recent ban that happened in Russia, it's literally the same. And I think it just really highlights the hypocrisy because they want to ban the consensual treatment that people actually want for themselves, but they want to allow the non-consensual treatment that literal children, babies actually don't want for themselves. So I think the main idea here to remember is that consent is what's most important, and this is what we should support and fight for. You know, that if it's an intersex baby, they should be allowed to grow up as they are and make their own decisions about their own bodies. And if a person wants to access gender-affirming treatment, again, if they are making an informed decision and providing their own consent, they should be able to do so. So yeah, I think focusing on consent and being together with other amazing activists is always very helpful and gives me personally a lot of energy.
Thank you. And wrapping up, I really want to address a call for action for everybody that is in this room right now. We know that the context is really multiple. It's total diverse around the globe. We have local issues, we have global issues, but we also have the responsibility to wake up in the morning, know about our privileges, know what we have to do to change a little bit of the world each and every day. So that's why you are here in Summit, and that's why we have those amazing activists to show the complexity of Europe and how we as an Out and Equal family can support you on whatever you are doing there. So thank you everybody for your time and patience to be here, and thank you for coming to the session. Thanks Gabi and the global team for doing everything that you do. We as LGBTQ need this space to be vocal and also rely on each other. So I hope you had a great day and go on with the session. So Summit is just starting a little bit in the middle, but tonight we're gonna see a really nice stuff in this party in Animal Kingdom. Who's ready for that, right? Thank you.